Hi, welcome to the members area and to the stopin60 system. The stopin60 system is a two-step process. Step 1 is to listen to this audio, which is approximately 30 minutes long. Step 2 is to listen to the stopin60 session, which is 60 minutes long. It's your choice whether you allow the whole 1.5 hours at once and listen to step 1 and step 2, one after the other, or if you first listen to step 1 and then at some other time you listen to step 2. There are only 3 rules. Rule 1 is you must listen to step 1 before you listen to step 2. Both steps 1 and step 2 play an integral role in helping you to stop smoking, and you must listen to them in order. Rule number 2 is you only listen to step 2 when you are completely ready to quit cigarettes forever. Step 2 is an extremely powerful meditation that has literally helped thousands of people around the world quit cigarettes. It's important that when you listen to the meditation, you allow an hour when you will not be interrupted by anything or anyone, including phone calls and text messages, and that before you listen to the meditation, you are really ready to stop smoking. Rule number 3. You must read and agree to the stopin60 disclaimer before starting the stopin60 system. Okay, let's begin. This is step 1, the pre-session talk, and this audio will last approximately 30 minutes. Please stop the recording for a moment and get a piece of paper and a pen, as you may like to take notes. Anna will ask you to write down a few answers to some questions I'll ask you. Okay, let's get started. Do you believe that you are addicted to nicotine? If you weren't addicted to nicotine, do you believe it would be easier for you to quit? First, we're going to discuss addiction. The type of addiction I want to talk about first is the physical addiction, not the mental. So who tells us that cigarettes are addictive? Well, we hear it over and over in the media, perhaps from friends, relatives, whomever, but I have to share with you. Thousands of people quit cigarettes every day, and not one of them experiences any kind of physical withdrawal symptoms that you would see in a normally addicting chemical like cocaine or heroin. Again, by definition, when I refer to addiction, what I'm talking about is the physical malfunction that bodies go through when being deprived of a substance upon which they've become dependent. Let me say that again. The physical malfunction that bodies go through when being deprived of a substance upon which they've become dependent. And no one's body malfunctions when they stop smoking cigarettes. I mean, think about it. How many hours do you usually sleep each night? 6, 7, 8? And you certainly don't smoke in your sleep. You may find it difficult to go 6 to 8 hours in the day without smoking. As a comparison, people who are truly addicted to a chemical like heroin or meth often cannot sleep through the night without their bodies craving a hit. No one does that with cigarettes. In fact, when I talk to people who have become non-smokers, the most severe physical problems I've ever had people tell me about is headaches, which are more likely to be dehydration or stress related. I also hear about sore throats and shaking hands. I'll address the issue of shaking hands in just a minute, but let's be honest here. These so-called symptoms, are they not simply irritations instead? Irritation and malfunction are not the same thing. They're not even in the same ballpark. They just cause discomfort, which is not a word used to describe the addictive withdrawals from any other truly addictive drug. I'm not sure whether you've personally ever seen anyone on meth. I hope not, but it's not a pretty sight. For example, the average meth addict, if he or she hasn't had their regular fix in their physical body, will often experience some terrible withdrawal symptoms such as sweats, shakes, heart palpitations, nausea, even hallucinations. In my 10 years as a quit cigarette specialist, I have never had any client experience anything like that when they tried to quit cigarettes. I mean, they might get a little grumpy or irritable, but they don't experience any of the physical symptoms that someone on meth gets, do they? You've probably heard about people who have contracted lung cancer from breathing in secondhand smoke. Now, the nicotine and all the chemicals are strong enough to kill them, but they weren't strong enough to addict them. For years, people breathed in all that nicotine, but it doesn't make them want to smoke. Then you have things like patches and gum. Patches and gum provide massive dose of nicotine. If smoking was simply a physical addiction, how come anyone who has tried the patches or gum is getting more nicotine in their bloodstream at one time than they've ever had? Why on earth would they still want a cigarette? It doesn't make sense. It's like saying you have someone who's a heroin addict who usually injects heroin in their right arm, and you come along and inject them in their left arm. Now, is he still going to need to inject himself in the right arm as well? Of course not. He's happy as he has the substance is in his body because he has the heroin in his system from the injection you gave him in the left arm. I know this is not a nice subject to talk about, but if you have a patch on and you're getting nicotine in your bloodstream, why on earth would you want a cigarette? Even wearing the highest dose of patches, people still want a cigarette. Why? Because it's not a nicotine addiction. If it were, the patches would work. So if it's not a physical addiction, what is it? It's a habit. Now, I'm not diminishing it all here. Hear me out. When you wake up in the morning, at some point, you have that first cigarette. You are reinforcing the habit of smoking. Then 10, 20, 30, 40 times during the course of the day, you are reinforcing the habit of smoking. Every time the hand goes up to the mouth, say about 10 times with each cigarette. So if you're a smoker who smokes 20 cigarettes a day, that's about 200 times a day you're reinforcing the habit. What else do you do 200 times a day? Nothing except breathe. So this is a habit that you have repeated perhaps hundreds of times a day for many years. And the only way to stop is to just stop. Cutting down doesn't work. What we're getting you to do here in this audio is to decide to quit cigarettes. When you now decide, it becomes easy. So when you decide now to quit cigarettes, it becomes easy. Here's what I can guarantee you. If you walk away from the stopin60 session as an ex-smoker, you will be nervous. If you walk away as an ex-smoker, you'll be tense. You'll be short-tempered and mean and craving cigarettes all of the time. That sounds horrible. So might I suggest you walk away as a non-smoker? Think of the powerful identity shift that occurs with these 3 little letters, non. The difference between an ex-smoker and a non-smoker is very subtle yet effective. I know that this may be difficult for you to understand right now because you're hearing this through the eyes of a smoker. But very soon you're going to be hearing me through the eyes of a non-smoker. You see, a non-smoker doesn't worry about cigarettes because they just simply don't want them. It's not their identity. Does that make sense? A non-smoker simply goes through their day without a single thought of a cigarette. Let's play a game. Let's pretend that every single person who listens to the stopin60 system quits smoking. That I have a 100% success rate. Once you've quit cigarettes, do you think you would notice a void in your life? Yes? Well, it's possible you won't, but very few people become a non-smoker and completely forget about cigarettes with no void whatsoever. Those are the elite. However, the average person can experience a void. Let me explain. You may be out with friends having a few drinks and then notice that something is missing. Or you may get to work and grab a cup of coffee and notice a pause or void. The funny thing is, when people experience the void in their life, they freak out and give false meaning to the void and say, Oh my goodness, I'm noticing that something's missing. That must mean I want a cigarette. No, it just means you noticed a void. Don't give it any more meaning than it deserves. In fact, if you do experience a void, that means the meditation is working. Think about it. If you didn't notice the void, it would mean you were still smoking. Another thing that people experience is an increased desire to play with their hands, or they become fidgety. What's funny is that they link up false meaning to the fidgeting. They say, "Oh my goodness, I want to do something with my hands. That must mean I want a cigarette." No, it simply means that you want something to do with your hands again. Don't give it any more meaning than it deserves. In fact, it's a positive thing if you do notice a void, because it means that you're no longer doing something you've always done. Think about it. You can probably get a cigarette out of the pack, lit, and in your mouth without even being consciously aware of it. So when your unconscious mind no longer wants to smoke and it stops doing it, you consciously catch up with it and wonder what you're supposed to do with your hands instead. So if after you complete the stopin60 system you notice a void or want something to do with your hands, embrace those desires, but don't give them false meaning. Appreciate the stopin60 session is working and find something else to do, okay? Great. Now I'm going to give you 2 new healthy ways of behaving that are positive and empowering and are designed for you to do every single day, multiple times a day, to reinforce that you are now a non-smoker, a fresh air breathing person. I would like you to practice these new positive daily habits multiple times a day for 2 weeks after you complete the stopin60 system. Are you ready to find out what these 2 new empowering habits are? Deep breathing and drinking water. Every day, take at least 10 deep breaths. When you breathe in, your tummy should naturally push out as you fill up your diaphragm, and in the same breath also fill your lungs, and then exhale slowly and completely. And drink plenty of fresh filtered water. At least 8 glasses of pure water every single day. It's very important that you practice these 2 new empowering habits every single day for 14 days after you complete the stopin60 system. So this means the problem with cigarettes is not the nicotine. The problem with cigarettes is the habit of smoking. Let me ask you a question. When do you smoke? First thing in the morning? With a cup of coffee? A cup of tea? With alcohol? After meals? After sex? When you're driving? When the phone rings? All those things become linked together as trigger mechanisms, so it's just a habit. Okay, I'd like you to write something down now. I would like you to write down the 3 biggest reasons you want to quit smoking. You may need to pause this audio while you write them down and restart the audio once you've finished. So here's the most important thing I can tell you, and it's probably going to sound obvious. Once you've quit cigarettes, you can never, ever, ever do it again. Never have a single puff, drag or draw from a cigarette again. If you do, you'll be back to smoking cigarettes just like you were before. So if you are ever tempted to have a cigarette again in the future, simply say to yourself, I am a fresh air breathing person. I am a non-smoker. You'd be surprised at how many people have quit cigarettes just to start 5 or 10 years later. My uncle quit for 8 years before he became a smoker again. Every time it's for the same reason. They think, I'll just have one cigarette. I'll just have one puff. It won't hurt. But every single time they go back to smoking cigarettes. So when you complete the stopin60 system, you can never, ever smoke again. Okay? The thing that normally stops most people from making a decision to quit cigarettes is that they are receiving some benefit from smoking. I would like you to write down what benefits you believe you receive from cigarettes. What do you get from cigarettes? If you need to take a little time, please pause this audio while you're writing and press play when you've finished. We are now going to talk about some of the most common reasons and excuses people have as to why they haven't quit cigarettes up until now. The first one is stress. The biggest excuse that most people use is that they smoke because of stress. It's usually the stress of their job, family, kids, and life. Stress used to be my friend's excuse. One of my friends used to smoke about 10 years ago. She had a job that was really stressful and she used to smoke because she said she was stressed. I asked my friend, "Do you smoke on the weekends?" My friend said, "Yes, I still smoke on the weekend." I asked her, "Do you smoke on holidays?" She said yes, she still smoked on holidays. So I said to her, "If you still smoke on the weekends and when you're on holidays, how can you say that you smoke because of stress? Isn't the stress of the job gone when you're on holidays and on the weekend?" She smoked the same amount day in and day out, and it's not like on a really stressful day she had 80 cigarettes and the following non-stressful day she had 5. On the weekends, on holidays, during stress, not stressed, she smoked a similar amount of cigarettes. So, where's the stress? It's a great excuse, but that's all it is, an excuse. To relax. In the past, a lot of smokers tell me that smoking relaxes them. Now, if you know anything about nicotine, you know it's impossible to actually relax when you smoke because nicotine's a stimulant. When you inhale nicotine, it goes into your bloodstream and goes everywhere, including your heart. Your heart sees nicotine as a poison and it increases your heart rate by about 12 beats a minute, trying to get rid of the poison. This is why even when you haven't smoked a cigarette in a while, you may notice heart palpitations or lightheadedness or dizziness because the nicotine's a stimulant, causing your heart and your body to react and try to get rid of it. Your stomach produces extra stomach acid every time you smoke cigarettes, about half a cup of extra acid for every 2 packs of cigarettes you smoke. Imagine you have a powerful stimulant like nicotine and you're also adding other carcinogens like caffeine. Is that person relaxed? Not even close. In fact, your body's working overtime trying to get rid of all the poisons and toxins you just put into it. So it's absolutely impossible to smoke and physiologically relax. Any feelings of relaxation is just an illusion. Willpower. Actually, if you didn't have any willpower, you wouldn't ever get out of bed. You wouldn't go to work, you wouldn't make payments on a house or pay your rent or wash your dishes. If you didn't have any willpower, you probably wouldn't do anything. Willpower is what allows you to do the dozens of things that you do every day of your life. Willpower is doing things you don't want to do. So actually, you do have lots of willpower. The only question is, are you going to start using it to quit cigarettes? Because I know, under the right set of circumstances, you could quit just by using willpower alone. No gum, patches, acupuncture, hypnosis, meditation or anything. weight gain. Have you ever seen beef jerky at the supermarket? Do you know that smoked meat that sits on the counter waiting to be bought? How much water do you think's in that meat? Not much at all. Well, what do you think you're doing to your body when you smoke? It's a known fact that smoking causes dehydration. If you don't believe me, you can look at someone who's smoked for 50 or 60 years compared with someone who hasn't. Their skin quality is completely different most of the time. When you become a non-smoker, your body's going to naturally want to rehydrate the cells that have dehydrated over the years. What this means is that you could gain anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5 kilos of water. Now, this is not fat. It's not water retention. It's simply the process of your body becoming denser, having each cell weigh slightly more because it's rehydrated. Expect this. I would rather see you be slightly heavier, healthier, and smoke-free than being a smoker. Remember, this is water that your body needs anyway. Some people worry that they're going to crave sweets when they become a non-smoker. That's because depending on what cigarettes you smoke, each cigarette contains between 8 and 18% sugar. When tobacco's cured, it's soaked in sugar water and then dehydrated. This is why some people's hands shake when they go without a cigarette for a while. It's called hypoglycemia, and shaking hands is one of the first symptoms of having low blood sugar. As a suggestion, if you fancy a snack, I'd choose a couple of dates or a piece of fruit. Finally, let me say, in the highly unlikely event that you do gain more than 2 kilos, I can almost guarantee it's because you're not making healthy food choices. It's because you've been eating chocolates and lollies to curb the sugar cravings. And if you eat lots of unhealthy food, you will gain weight. Remember, you have your 2 new healthy ways of behaving that you can use any time of day or night. They are deep breathing and drinking water. When you use these 2 new healthy ways of behaving rather than smoking cigarettes and eating unhealthy food, you will not only quit cigarettes but also likely not put on any more than 1 to 2 kilos of water to rehydrate your cells and organs of your body. If you would like some additional help in detoxifying your body and weight loss, I suggest you visit our sister sites, lookgreatnakedtea.com and lookgreatnakedmindset.com. That's lookgreatnakedtea.com and lookgreatnakedmindset.com. Pleasure. Some people say they smoke cigarettes because they enjoy it. So I ask them, how many cigarettes you smoke do you actually enjoy? They usually say out of the 20 to 30 cigarettes a day they smoke, they may enjoy maybe 4. Well, it takes about 4 minutes to smoke a cigarette, so that's 16 minutes of enjoyment. Now, of course, it's decreasing your health. But what's your health when you get 16 minutes of pleasure or enjoyment from smoking cigarettes? And maybe you're suffering coughing and shortness of breath, hacking up mucus each morning and not being able to do all the things you want to do. Oh yeah, it smells. But what's personal hygiene when you get 16 minutes of enjoyment? And you're spending thousands of dollars every year on cigarettes, but hey, you've got the money, you can afford it. And studies show that it can take an average of 14 years off your life. But hey, what's 16 minutes of enjoyment a day? It's worth it, isn't it? No, of course not. I'm sure you can find something else you enjoy for 16 minutes a day. Read a book, go for a walk, have a bath, watch the sunrise, do some yoga, stretching, gardening, call a friend. There are a myriad of things you can do to find enjoyment each day, not smoking smelly, expensive cigarettes. So once you've put aside all the reasons and excuses, all you are left with is a habit. Okay, let's talk about why you're still smoking after all these years. Why are you still doing it, even though you know it's not good for you? Because smoking cigarettes is not under your control. Let me explain. You have two parts of your mind, the subconscious and the conscious. Your conscious mind is the logical, rational thinking part of your mind. The conscious mind is where you have your willpower. This is the goal-setting, planning part of the mind. It's the part of your mind that we believe is in control. But the truth is, if your conscious mind were in control, you wouldn't be listening to this audio. You would have made up your mind to quit cigarettes and you would have quit. So there's something else going on. The other part of your mind that we'll talk about today is your subconscious mind. It's the subconscious mind that controls your habits. Now, when you first started doing something, you do it consciously. You have to stop and think about it. Like when you first started smoking cigarettes, you didn't just do it and not ever realize you were doing it. You had to stop and think about it. You had to use your willpower to light the cigarette, bring it to your mouth and inhale. You were not automatically smoking 20 to 40 cigarettes a day. You had to form the habit first in your subconscious mind. The moment you formed that programmed habit, it became difficult for you to consciously change because it was no longer within your conscious awareness of what you were doing. You were just doing it. It's a lot like driving. When you first learned how to drive, you had to get in the car, think about pressing down the clutch, the brake, think about turning the key, think about looking in your mirrors, remembering to push in the accelerator, to change gears, etc. There was a lot you had to consciously think about. But now you can drive down the road talking on your phone, eating your lunch, all while finding a radio station. You don't have to think about it anymore. It became automatic. At some point early on, your subconscious mind took over and does what you had to learn with willpower and your conscious mind. You form natural responses to external stimuli. When you see a police car, you hit the brakes. When you see a stop sign, you slow down. Now, there's absolutely no difference from that type of response and finishing a meal and reaching for a cigarette. It's one event triggering the other, and it's happening subconsciously. That's why it's been difficult for you to consciously change. Your subconscious mind is also the part of your mind that holds your imagination. Albert Einstein said that your imagination was the most powerful tool you owned. He said that what you imagine, you will create. Like the studies they've done on athletes who visualize with their imagination the sport they play. They measured the athletes' bodies while they were doing this, and their bodies had the exact same responses and muscle contractions and nerves firing as if they were actually doing the event in real life. They also measured the athletes' performance before and after they did their visualizations, and all the athletes improved to the same level as those who actually physically practiced. So if you imagine it's going to be difficult to quit cigarettes, then it will be. And you'll get all the symptoms associated with trying to quit cigarettes. But if you imagine that it's going to be easy to quit cigarettes, then it will be. And you make it easy for yourself. Henry Ford said, "If you believe you can or you believe you cannot, you are right." So if you believe it will be easy, you're right. And the fact of the matter is that it is easy to quit cigarettes because many people who quit cigarettes do so by themselves. They don't use patches, gum, hypnosis, acupuncture or anything else. They just wake up one day and quit cigarettes. You probably know people who smoked for 20, 30, 40 years who woke up one day and said, "I'm not smoking anymore." And they never smoked again. It all comes down to believing and expecting it to be easy. So in other words, it's as easy as making up your mind that it's going to be easy, as with all those other people who just quit. All you have to do is make up your mind here today that you've decided to quit cigarettes. The primary part of your mind we're working with today is your subconscious mind. The main objective of the subconscious part of your mind is to protect you. It's designed to protect us. It's like the self-preservation part of the mind. The subconscious mind protects you from physical and mental harm. If you put your hand on a hot stove, you would automatically pull it off the stove. You wouldn't be like, should I remove my hand? You just automatically pull it off. Your subconscious mind protects you from physical harm, and it also protects you from mental harm. Now, most people start smoking to protect themselves from bad feelings. Most people start smoking in their teenage years. From the age of about 10 to 21, we're going through what's called the socialization period, where we're trying to fit in with other kids and people we want to be like. There's great pressure on teenagers to smoke, and they're feeling bad because of it. The cigarette then becomes a solution to the feeling bad. And since the subconscious mind's job is to protect you physically and mentally, the cigarette becomes a way to protect you from feeling bad. It tastes disgusting, and they might cough and splutter, but now they fit in and they feel good. So the brain links up at an early age that when you're feeling bad, having a cigarette will make you feel better. The feeling bad gets linked up with smoking to make you feel better, even though it actually doesn't. I would like you to write down why you started smoking. What was happening in your life when you had your first cigarette? Who gave it to you, and how did you feel? If you need to, pause this audio while you do this. In other words, your subconscious mind is trying to protect you emotionally. It's not trying to kill you. It's not trying to give you cancer, heart disease, or anything horrible. It started smoking when it was helping you to feel good and fit in. The problem is that everything's changed now. Cigarettes are no longer appropriate. Smoking cigarettes is no longer protecting you in any way, shape, or form. There are many different ways to relax and relieve stress, and tons of ways to be calm and centered. There are millions of ways to feel better that are healthy and good for you. What's happening is your subconscious mind is actually not protecting you anymore. It's actually increasing your chance of getting cancer, heart disease, and all the other dangers cigarettes that we both know are real. Where the problems come from is you have this thing between the two parts of your mind called the critical faculty. When any suggestion or idea of change comes in, whether it's from a doctor, family member, friend, whoever it is, why don't you quit cigarettes? Don't you know it will kill you? Even if that suggestion makes conscious, logical, rational sense to you, and you absolutely agree with it, you want it to work. If that suggestion isn't in line with the deep level of the mind, your subconscious mind, then that suggestion will be rejected. That's why you felt like in the past you were fighting with yourself, because you have been. Because your subconscious mind is the part of your mind that's really in control. The good news is you have a back door to this critical faculty, and with meditation and your permission, we can go around the critical faculty. In step 2 of the stopin60 system, during your meditation session, we will gently speak to your subconscious mind and let it know that smoking cigarettes is no longer appropriate. We will gently erase that old, outdated program and lovingly restore a new, empowering one to help you stay smoke-free forever. We will effectively reactivate the primary function of your subconscious mind to protect you and disconnect the habit of cigarettes. Then it's easy for you to quit cigarettes, because you will have both parts of your mind working for the same goal of being a fresh air breathing person. No more fighting with yourself. No more internal struggle. They will disappear. Then it becomes easy, and it's easy for you to quit cigarettes, and then our job's pretty much done. Now, in a few moments, you're going to experience a wonderful, enjoyable state of meditation. I'll be giving you the most powerful and effective suggestions known to help you become a non-smoker for the rest of your life. Firstly, I'd like you to tell you what you can expect after the meditation session. About 30% of people after this session feel as if they've never had a cigarette in their lives. They don't think about cigarettes ever again. They go through life as if cigarettes don't exist. Now, I'd love to suggest that's how you will respond, although I have no way of knowing that. Another 30% will feel great. They have no craving, but a week or so may go by and they might be finishing up a meal and they have a fleeting thought about a cigarette. As quickly as the thought comes, the thought is gone, and they will go about doing what they were doing. The last 30% are people who have to be aware that there are things that could try and trick them into having a cigarette. They might be finishing a meal or having a cup of coffee and they think, "Oh, I'd really like a ciggy." But as long as they remember to say no to that cigarette and yes to clean air, they'll be fine. You can stand up and do something else for a bit. I'm sure you can handle that. This leaves us with approximately 5%. I'm telling you this because I know you're not one of them. Every once in a while, someone will do the stopin60 system because a well-meaning loved one has bought the program for them and strongly encouraged them to quit, maybe even pushed or threatened them to do the stopin60 system. They will do the stopin60 system even though they don't really want to quit cigarettes. They must decide for themselves to quit cigarettes now. For those people who listen to the step 2, the stopin60 meditation, and still continue to smoke cigarettes, I have included a second meditation session for them to listen to. I'm totally committed to your success, and I know for absolute certain the stopin60 system works. I have personally helped hundreds of people quit cigarettes using this exact system, and now it's your turn. So when you're ready to quit cigarettes, find a quiet space where you can sit or lie down comfortably with an hour of uninterrupted time. Somewhere you will not be distracted by the television, people, laptops, phones, iPads, children, or any other things that will distract you from your meditation. When you are ready to quit cigarettes, press play on step 2 of the stopin60 system. I'll see you there.